Stop. If moles confuses you, this 5-minute video will fix it forever.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia and I tutor GCSE and A-level chemistry. So today we're breaking down mole calculations step by step. So the equation for moles is moles equals mass over mR. And there we go, that's as simple as the equation is. So how to use the triangle? Well, that's very simple. All you need to do is cover the one that you want to find and the formula will appear. So let's say we want to find mass. We'll cover mass, and then our equation is moles times mR. Simple, right? If not, that's okay. We'll try a few examples and see how this works in practice. Alright, so for the first question, if we've got 12 grams of carbon, how many moles of carbon do we actually have? So moles are just a simple way of counting particles. It tells us how many atoms or molecules we actually have. So let's just write the equation down. Moles is equal to mass over mR. So we know we need to find moles. We've been told the mass, so that's 12. And the only thing that we're missing is the mR. So to find the mR of carbon, all we need to do is look at the periodic table and look at the atomic mass, which for carbon is going to be 12. So that gives us 12 over 12, which is 1 mole. And that's it for that question. We've got 1 mole of carbon. So now, just to finish off, let's have a look at how else moles can pop up in exams. Okay, so now that we can find moles, moles can also be used to find the limiting reactants. Let's say we've got the balanced equation 2H2 plus O2 is equal to 2H2O. And let's say the question's asking, what's the limiting reactant in this equation? So we can clearly tell that we've got 2 moles of H2 compared to 1 mole of O2. And then looking at our product, we've got 2 moles of H2O. So let's say the question says we've got 40 moles of H2 and 40 moles of O2. How many moles of H2 can we actually make? So the H2 and the O2 always have to be in a 2-to-1 ratio. However, if we've got 40 moles of both, that's going to be in a 1-to-1 ratio. Well, we're obviously going to use the whole 40 moles of H2. And we obviously need half of that amount of O2, which is going to be 20 moles. So this shows us that O2 is actually not the limiting reactant, as we've still got 20 moles of O2 left over. However, we can't use those 20 moles because we don't have enough H2 to keep that in a 2-to-1 ratio. Let's say we tried to use 40 moles of O2. How many moles of H2 would we need? We would need 80. So in this case, even though we've got the same amount of both reactants, H2 is actually going to be our limiting reactant because we're using up all of H2. However, we're still going to have 20 moles of O2 left over. So in the end, what we're really answering is what is actually stopping us from producing more of the product, which in this case is water, and that is H2, because all of the H2 is gone. However, we still have some O2 left over. So I hope that helped and cleared some things up, as that is a really common way that moles do pop up in exams. So let's wrap this up and go over a few quick tips to hopefully help you not make any mistakes when it comes to moles in exams. Let's get to it. So I would say my first biggest tip is if you've got a question that has anything to do with moles, make sure that you first use the ratio from your balanced equation to predict any products, and then always make sure that you calculate moles before you calculate mass if needed to avoid any confusion. Then, for my second tip, remember the triangle formula will be your best friend in exams. If you're ever confused and see moles in any question, pull out that triangle formula and just see what fits, cover up the thing you need to find, and you'll have the formula in the triangle. Then for tip 3, and this is very crucial and we did actually forget to mention this, always make sure to check your units. If you're using the mass from a question, double, triple and quadruple check that you've got it in grams, as the formula will only work if your mass is in grams. So if in the exam it's given in kilograms, micrograms, anything other than grams, just be sure to convert back to grams before actually using it in your equation. And lastly, find the limiting reactants with ratios. If a question ever asks you to find the limiting product, or which product is going to run out first, or anything along those lines, just look at the ratio of moles in the balanced equation and you'll know exactly what will run out first. So to wrap this up, I really hope this made moles click. If it did, don't forget to hit the like and comment if you want any other specific videos. I wish you all a great time revising. You've got this.